Cody No Love Garbrandt is back, uh, and he's fighting a bantamweight fighter that's been doing some pretty honest work in Miles Johns. Um, as we all know, Cody got his ass whooped basically at UFC 300 by Davison Figueiredo via submission. I called it before the fight even happened. Just figured, Davison's got some really strong ground game, and Cody doesn't really have uh, as good ground game as Davison. So, Figueiredo would be able to take the fight to the ground and submit him there. And that's what he did relatively early, too. But Garbrandt, we all know him as more of a boxer, a striker, and a very smooth one at that. Very, very great head movement, very fast, and just very skillful overall, especially during his notable rivalry with T.J. Dillashaw. But that was way back. He's back again. Again, he's coming off that loss against Davison, so he's looking for a bounce back fight to get his name back in the ring of noteworthy bantamweights. So this will be a good fight for him. He's fighting Miles Johns. Miles Johns, I would call him an all around okay fighter. He likes to take guys to decisions. I mean, he's not. I wouldn't call him a finisher. Doesn't really finish fights many times. He did have one knockout in his record, but that was after he beat the guy up for quite some time. Like, he's not really especially like a first round finisher or a first few rounds finisher. But he's decent. He's got pretty decent striking, and I would almost call it point fighting, but not really, because he does seem to go for the finish. He just doesn't end up getting the finishes. Like, he has bouts of energy, high energy moments and high energy sequences. They just don't really end in finishes. But he puts in some honest work, and he's got decent ground game as well. It's not stellar, but it's decent. He could go for the takedowns and try to bring the fight to the ground. So when fighting a guy like Cody Garbrandt, in all honesty, I'm going to go with Cody Garbrandt. I think Cody will win because I think he'll come in faster. He'll have better, boxing technique. And he's got power on his side as well. But I think if the same Cody Garbrandt that showed up to fight Figgy shows up for this fight, I think he's got a good chance at winning. Miles Johns will have the threat of takedowns, but I don't think he'll use it. I think Miles Johns will try to fight this on the feet. He may resort to takedowns, later in the fight, but that's up to Cody to defend against those and do well in that area too. But I think Cody could get it done relatively early, because I think certain fighters in the past have been able to overwhelm Mike Johns. So I think it's very possible for Cody to using his speed and his boxing his high boxing IQ, his striking IQ, and head movement, everything. He can utilize that to kind of stay on the front foot, keep Miles Johns on the back foot, and overwhelm Miles Johns relatively early. So I think it's very possible that happens. It's just I gotta go with that prediction, because I look at how Cody Garbrandt did at UFC 300, and yes, grappling was shit. But again, what he's really known for is that that striking know-how, that IQ, that head movement, that smoothness, even the speed too. He was very fast against Figgy. Although he did lose via submission, I feel like he was arguably beating Figgy on the feet, and he was very fast too. I'm telling you, I couldn't get enough of. I couldn't. His speed was just so blatant. How fast he was. It was really crazy to watch, especially because he's been in the fight game so long. He's still got those lightning fast hands, and I think he's going to use them against a guy like Miles Johns. And I think it's an excellent weapon to use, and one that will almost ensure his victory in this fight. So I'm going to go with Cody. I think Miles Johns is still again a relatively okay fighter, though, all around, because it's not like he relies totally on striking. He's got decent ground game too, and he's able to stay in the fight and beat you up for all 5 rounds. So it's also possible that happens too. It's also possible Miles Johns brings this fight to the ground and attempts to dominate on the ground. And I think it's just up to Cody to you know be able to defend himself well there, and definitely defend himself better than he did against Figgy. So hopefully that happens. I would put my money on that happening. But I think I don't think Cody really needs it. I think all he'll really need to do is rely on on the speed of his hands and the technique of his boxing and his striking and his boxing defense, his head movement, his speed, and I think utilizing all of those together, he'll be able to overwhelm Miles Johns relatively early. So I'm going to go with Cody Garbrandt TKO. Cody Garbrandt TKO round 3. I'll go round 3. I'll give Miles Johns the benefit of the doubt and have him just kind of figure each other out for 2 rounds, and then Cody just goes for the finish in round 3. So yeah, I think that's what definitely happens. But let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'll see you all in the next.